Good evening and welcome back to my channel. Next update on Moonbase Alpha. As you can see, I have most of the base pieces down and a good deal of the detailing around the base finished. And I wanted to go over a few things that I ran into and sort of give a little bit of guidance. So I'm now getting to the point where I need to finish off the detailing, and I mean I'm rapidly heading toward the end, and this is one of those steps where I have a feeling that I'll take another 2 steps and then suddenly boom, I'm done. And I've forgotten to go over a couple of these things, so I want to go ahead and stop and just sort of cover a couple of details. So the first thing I'm going to start off with are the eagles. And that would be these little guys, and I apologize. So these guys are incredibly tiny, as you can tell, and detailing them is a little bit challenging. I'm going to use the oil wash that I had that I ran over this to pretty much do most of the detailing. The ones that will be on this display are going to be on the landing pad, so I'm not worried about the underside at all. There's really no point. If you want to mount this on a, like a, what's the word I'm looking for, a wire, so that, you know, it's flying over the base, and you want to care about the bottom, you can see the bottom is actually fairly detailed, which is kind of cool. If you want to show an Alan Carter flipped eagle somewhere, you know, hey, you got the detail there. Sorry, Nick, man, but your character just couldn't drive. The detail of these things is actually really nice. Now, I am intentionally leaving them on the sprue, excuse me, and doing the majority of the painting while they're still on the sprue. And I'm doing that for a reason. So, the sprues broke off, right? And getting to all the detail and getting to the pieces that I need, I can do while they're on the sprue. And you can see here, that's where that one sprue broke off. So each of these two, so basically there's, these two are mounted here, then there's a set of 2 on each of these sides. And you can see they're very flimsy, so they've broken off. And really, once that's done, once you cut them away, there's just a little bit of cleanup, and then I can spot detail where the sprue breaks. So it's actually better. I can get the majority of the detailing on the eagle done while they're still mounted to the sprue, and I can actually hold them because my big old fat fingers, right? You know, I'd have a hard time with those. All of the black on here is that oil pin wash that I showed you. Now you can see it didn't necessarily go in all the places that we want, especially on the beak. Get my thumb out of the way so it'll focus on the eagle. There we go. Like on the beak part. So the last step on this will just give it a quick dry brush of white, and that should cover up what's left there. I did hit the tips of the bells, engine bells, with silver. Literally a Vallejo game color silver. So silver metallic. That's what I used for that. And then the eagles are done. That's as far as I'm going to take them because they're going to be seen from this far away. And in all honesty, against the landing pad, that's about what that's going to look like. So really, if we give a good idea what that's going to look like, they're going to look like that. So I'm thinking that'll work, right? So next steps now are detailing or cleaning up the remainder of the thing. So I've done all the basing and I've done all the edging, and you can still see as you look around places. So there's like a spot here and a spot here and a spot here where I need to still go back and just do a little bit more dry brush touch up to clean up some spots. And I have found that doing this touch up as like a dry brush, it just sort of fades that in. As a matter of fact, I can probably even demo it while I'm sitting here. And it doesn't take much to make this work. And I have a specific brush that I'm using for that. I've got one of these. And this is what I've been using to do most of my dry brushing. And on this kind of level, actually, this is the guy. Here's the guy. And you can tell he's like beat up and used. So all I'm doing is I'm taking my color. And yes, this is why you see paint on my fingers all the time, because this is how I do that. And I actually get that in. Then here, I just go back and I just kind of dry brush scrubby that in. And then that detail piece or the pieces of it that's still visible kind of fades away. And that's what I'm looking to make happen. Is just erase it. Now, yes, I do see some color change here, and we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But like there. Right, so here's another spot. Now, this is something you need to do. You need to make a point to go around every one of these things and find all those spots that have that issue, that have these little pieces that just kind of still stick out and are still not quite blended in, and use this, and I'm using this dry brush-ish technique to just sort of blend those back in. I also had to go back and trim some places where the glue had gone too high on the travel tube, and so you see it's like up here, there's still a little bit up there. I'm going to need to trim that off, but that's what needed to be done. So there's that spot there, and really that's all I need. And I do need a little bit there, and I'm not going to like drag you guys through all of that while I go back and do this last little bit. But you do need to take the time. You need to go slowly and make the point to go back and look at all of those spots, make sure you've blended the edges the way you want. And again, this is going back to your aesthetic, what you like, what you want, and how you want it to how you want the overall model to look, and what will be visible to your eye and what won't. So, speaking of what will be visible to my eye and what won't. The colors, let's talk about the colors a little bit. So you can see where I've gone back and I've, sort of done some touch up on the base. And there are some places still where we have paints that don't blend, right? And now I know that the next step is to go back and knock this dark back, right? So bring it back up. So let's talk about colors, right? The colors that I use for the base. So this color right here is this. It's Plastic Soldier, Army Painter, or Army Spray, Early War German Panzer Gray. Early War German Panzer Gray. This gray is gorgeous. I love this color for so much. So many of this dark stone. Anytime I do stone terrain and do stone, I use this as my base, and then I dry brush up, going from lighter and lighter grays, and I get very, very nice looking rocks. But this is the base color that I started with. In the US, this is difficult to get, this paint anymore. I love Plastic Soldier because of the way it lays down. It's very fine. It lays like a primer, even though it's not. It puts a very nice acrylic, not matte, but sort of satinish surface, but it's still smooth, so it paints well. I really love this stuff. Here in the US, it's hard to get. Vallejo is good. Vallejo's got a good rattle can, and then there's Games Workshop, but Games Workshop doesn't have really the kind of colors I like. So if I can't get a hold of Vallejo or Plastic Soldier, I fall back on this. I fall back on Vallejo. So this is Vallejo's black gray. Now, this is not the same as German Panzer Gray. This is very close. All right, so RAL 7021. This fades in very well. This spot here is this, where this spot here is the spray. So it really does, it's not exact, but it does blend, and that's really what I needed from this. So those are the two colors that I've gotten to do these really dark grays, and this is the color I did to do these blending. Now you will see all these spots where there are definite color differences, and some of these are intentional and some of these not so much. So you can see the streaks here, and that's where the light base, and basically when I painted this, I painted it in radials, right? So I would paint, in these, following the line, so that when you actually look down, you've got this sort of starburst sort of look. It's kind of look I was going for. And I thought that this was kind of the dark that I wanted. The reality is, if I look on TV, it looks a lot lighter. Now here's the catch. A lot of the scenes that have it have very harsh side lighting, and that kind of plays with the look. So I'm gonna put a couple pictures up here, and I wanna explain what I mean. The first picture I'm going to put up right here is going to be the model, the actual model that they used in the show, not the miniature, but in Black Sun, I think it was episode 3, Victor was showing where they were going to put the anti-grav generators to make the Bergman shield, right? And he had a little model of Moonbase, and it shows the colors that the set department made when they were making that model for the base. And that's this picture right here. Okay. So that the colors there, the lunar surface is pretty dark. Okay. And that was kind of what I remembered in my head. And I was also, I knew I wanted to lighten up some things and dry brush to get the high lows. But I was looking at that darkness. Now, when I did a comparison, I was looking at something else earlier today. I was looking at how the lighting on all of this ends up looking. And so I laid this out, and I took sort of an on side shot, which is sort of the view, like you get when a lot of the long shots of the miniature. And I'm going to cut to a scene of one of the pictures of the miniature from the show. Right? So in that, it looks really light, very light. It looks very, very light. So now I'm second guessing, like, I'm really going to have to lighten this up a lot. And I'm getting a little worried about how close I have to get my airbrush to lighten all this stuff and so forth. But now I'm going to show you a picture. I took a picture of this sort of, side on, like you would see in the harsh lighting, and got this. Okay. So that harsh side lighting really lightened up this color. So my feeling is that I'm going to lighten this up, but I'm going to lighten this up nowhere near as much as I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to have to kind of get the whole base to be close to like this really, really light white. And really what I'm going to want to do is I'm just going to go back with my airbrush, and I'm going to lighten in spots, kind of like I do when you're appreciating an aircraft or whatever. I'm just kind of going and just break up the colors, and these places where there's little craters, maybe do a little sunburst from there, blend some of this in using the airbrush with a lighter gray, not something as, where is it here? So that's this one. So not as light as this, which is what I was thinking. I was thinking I was going to have to do this, which is the color I was doing to do this dry brush over here. That was this color. And I was thinking that was what I was going to have to use, but Now, I'm going to use this. And this falls in closer to here, right? So it's closer to this color when it dries. This is lighter than it actually shows when it dries. So I have these three colors of gray, these three layers of gray. This is going to be, this is going to be the one that I'm going to use to blend these edges here, and especially like these harsh ones around there where the lay of the glue is. And then that'll bring that back. And then I'm going to take another picture to see how that looks with the harsh lighting. I think that's where I'm going to go. So we'll see when I get that done. The last bit that I'm really not sure about, and that's the edging. Okay. So if you look at the side, you've got these little hills right here on these corners, little hill here, and you get little hills here and there, you know, but they're really, really low. And the picture of Moonbase, right, has it in this crater. So there's rocks or mountains or whatever, hills that extend probably like this high. And I could, if I wanted to, model terrain mountains onto this, but this base is a little too small for that. Now I could do it, and I mean, especially if I was going to do it on this side, because here you can see these pieces here are closer in. And if you look at the rest of the edges, this piece extends pretty close to the edge. This extends close to the edge. This extends close to the edge. This is the only side where you really have room to put any kind of a hill. And I think most of the shots are either here with that angle, with this one toward the front, or with this, what is it? This one. So with this one toward the front. So in one of these ones, so if you look at most of the shots that you see, you know, you're either coming this way or you're coming, for the most part, this way. 6.5 doesn't do it, guys, really. So a lot of waffle there to say, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I don't think, it bugs me a little bit when I was taking the picture that I don't have that mountain background. So what I may do is just make a cutout and glue to the side, or I might just not even care and just put this on like this and be content and not worry about the fact that there should be a deeper mountains on the other side. That was one of the things that sort of was striking me as weird, or at least looking funky when I was looking at the finished kit. So evolved enough on where I am now and what I have yet to do. So my next steps are putting on the transfers, putting down the eagles, right? Or putting down the transfers, detailing the eagles and putting them in place, making sure I'm going to have to walk through this like probably 3 or 4 more times to look for things that I've overlooked. See, there's another piece I've overlooked. And it's really hard, guys. It really is hard, or really is easy to overlook different pieces that you've missed as you're walking around this. And there's just so many. But it just take the patience, right? It's all modeling. So take the time and have the patience to do it. And, you know, I was sitting here looking at this today going, you know, 12-year-old me or 10-year-old me never would have finished this kit, would have just never had either the patience or the skill set to do this. And the skills aren't really hard. It's just being deliberate with your choices and doing the things that need to be done. And then every time you stop and see, oh, I got to fix up that, or it's like here, need to go back and touch that piece up, and need to come back and highlight this and knock some of that shading down. So there's a lot to do. You're going to find those little bits and pieces, and you have to be patient enough to do that. But you can really get, and this is without really a lot of, you know, major effort. I think, honestly, you know, it's it's actually a pretty cool kit especially if you're as enamored of the subject as I am. So there, I've waffled on now for half an hour or so. And next time I'll come back after I've knocked back down or changed around with the color a bit and gotten this pretty closer to being done. So until next time, I hope this is helpful and, again, useful for those of you who are looking at doing something like this. And until next time, happy modeling.